welcome back to Get Up. Let's get right on and run the hurry up. Dan Graziano's in Palm Beach, Florida at the NFL annual meetings. And all right, Graz, I know some of the coaches have spoken. What's the buzz?
Yeah, all the AFC coaches spoke this morning a short time ago. Couple of items of note. Colts coach Shane Steichen saying that newly signed Daniel Jones and third-year quarterback Anthony Richardson will split first-team reps when the team begins its offseason workouts. It'll be a flat-footed, even competition, and whoever performs the best throughout the offseason will win. Richardson's draft pedigree and the fact that he's been there does not give him any kind of edge, so we'll watch that quarterback battle throughout the offseason. The Steelers are still hoping to have a quarterback question. They want Aaron Rodgers to sign with them. So far, he has not. Mike Tomlin saying that he's not concerned that they're in the player acquisition phase of the offseason, and that can take a while. He said he has no deadline for when he needs a decision from Aaron Rodgers. He also talked about how comfortable he would be if they had to open the season with Mason Rudolph as their starter. And, of course, the Steelers will be looking at the quarterbacks in the draft as well. And then owners will vote on potential rule changes while we're here at these meetings. A lot of the coaches talking about the tush-push play, which there's a little bit of support for trying to find a way to ban it. It's unclear if it'll have the support of 24 owners, which is what it would need in order for there to be a rule change. But Bills coach Sean McDermott, whose team uses the play, as you see here, more than anybody but the Eagles, even he was saying today that there's player safety issues to consider, and that even if they don't have all the data on that yet, it might be a good idea to be proactive. So a little bit more support for changing that rule than I think we expected when we got here yesterday.
All right, we're going to talk more about that tush-push in the second hour. But let's talk about the Cowboys and Stephen Jones. He had some comments about the Cowboys' offseason signings. You take a look, and I'm going to quote Stephen Jones here. He says, quote, "We've done the early before," talking about signing people, "and we've waited until the end to do them. A lot of it is just negotiation itself. Some of them take longer than others. And we put zero credibility or credence into people saying you wait too long," end quote. All right, let's bring Tim Hasselbeck. Bart joins me as well. Your first impression of what you heard out of Stephen Jones?
I mean, he is just not self-aware, because what he has to realize is he's paid top of the market for the pivotal positions, some of the highest paid positions in the NFL in the last couple of years, and now he's waiting for Micah Parsons. If he would have paid, it seems like they have no idea where the salary cap is going to go. If they would have overpaid last year, it would have been a discount this year for a guy like Micah Parsons. Now when you see what's happening, T.J. Watt's going to get done as well. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, they're potentially looking at 4 years, $200 million or close to that with Micah Parsons. That can't be sustainable, because you can't build the rest of your team around when you have everybody making the top dollar at the pivotal positions.
Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he hasn't been early on, the players of significance, which, is what Bart's talking about when he's talking about Parsons. And you go back to CeeDee Lamb. They weren't ahead of it on CeeDee Lamb. You go back to Dak Prescott. They weren't ahead of it on Dak Prescott. And so, the reality is they've waited on the big guys who, have basically reset the market. There was a period of time where Dak Prescott, I think, made more money than anybody in the NFL over a 4-year stretch, because they waited when they knew that the guy could play. And that includes, a season where Dak basically destroyed his leg and ankle, but they had to, give him a new next year because he clearly was their best option. So, look, they could say, what they want about, their, the way they have negotiated contracts, being ahead of it or being behind it. They've been behind it, plain and simple. It's indisputable that they have been. So whether, he wants to say they put zero credence into it or not, doesn't make it not true. The reality is they've been late to the game on it. It's cost them more money, and now it's put them in a really bad spot with Dak Prescott.
Hey, Graz, how should we look or expect the remainder of the Cowboys offseason to look?
Well, I think Micah Parsons getting signed to an extension is probably their biggest order of business. Now, we know because of their history, as the guys are talking about, that can take a while. Dak Prescott signed his new contract on the morning of the first Sunday of the regular season this past year, so they can go right up to the wire. I think what you hear in Stephen Jones' comments is something that doesn't get talked about enough in these discussions, which is it's not just them that wait, right? Like sometimes the player wants to wait. Micah Parsons didn't want to do a deal last offseason. He knew that by the time he got to the negotiating table this year, the number was going to be over $40 million, and so he wanted to wait until that happened as well. So I think what you hear when you hear Stephen Jones' frustration is like, don't just say we're the ones who wait when sometimes the player isn't in the frame of mind to do the deal. But the flip side of that is the Cowboys have created a situation where the players know that if they wait long enough, they're going to get what they want because they've seen Dak Prescott do it and CeeDee Lamb do it and Ezekiel Elliott do it years ago. So, look, fundamentally, they've got to draft well. They've got to get high-level production out of guys on rookie contracts because they're going to be spending at the top of the market for 3 of the premium positions.
All right, we got much more on the NFL. Things in flux. Aaron Rodgers visited the Steelers facility for nearly 6 hours. That was back on March 21st. Now, the team's current quarterback depth chart is Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson. Their head coach, Mike Tomlin, spoke this morning with reporters at the league annual meeting. Take a listen.
He's a free agent. As you guys know, he came to visit last Friday. We had a really productive day. He's been in this thing a long time. I've been in this thing a long time. But it's no substitute for, intimacy and spending time together and getting to know one another in a non-competitive environment. And so that was really good. But I don't have any new updates in terms of where the process is. We'll see where it leads us.
Is it your impression whether he actually intends to play and it's right team, right situation, or is that still to be decided?
I'm certainly not going to put words in his mouth or speak for him.
Okay, Garage joins us. Of course, he is right there on the grounds there in Florida at those league meetings. Got Bart, Tim Hasselbeck joins us. All right, Garage, since you're right there on the ground, what more can you tell us about what Mike Tomlin had to say there?
Yeah, they're really not in a hurry. The Steelers really don't have like a pivot that has any urgency to it, right? If Aaron Rodgers tells them no, is Carson Wentz or Joe Flacco going to be that much better than Mason Rudolph? So they're not going to push Aaron Rodgers for an answer for fear that will make the answer no. So they'll give him the time that he needs. It doesn't seem like he has another option out there other than retirement, so they're not worried about losing him to another team. Little nitty-gritty kind of inside baseball thing here, but if they wait until the Tuesday after the draft, so 4 weeks from tomorrow, signing Aaron Rodgers would not hurt them in the compensatory draft pick formula. They'd be able to pick up some extra draft picks in the 2026 draft. That could be part of the calculation as well now. It could be part of the delay. But Aaron Rodgers weighing Steelers versus retirement, I guess, and the Steelers looking at quarterbacks in the draft regardless of what happens there.
Okay, Tim, give me your thoughts on not only what you heard from Mike Tomlin, but what do you think is going through Aaron Rodgers' mind?
Yeah, well, I think what we heard from Mike Tomlin is, look, we're interested in him, but we're not moving heaven and earth for him, which is really consistent with what they've said all offseason. They wanted to re-sign Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. They weren't able to do either of those things, so they turned to the next level of free agency, which is definitely not a priority. And then I think from Aaron Rodgers' perspective, because there's not going to be money that, protects him from, other people on the roster being his eventual replacement, he probably wants to see if they're drafting somebody. And if they draft a quarterback in the first round, then it most likely is.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại kênh YouTube của mình. Mình hiện làm người làm video sáng tạo nội dung trên nền tảng YouTube nha các bạn. Mình sẽ sáng tạo những video hướng dẫn cắt dán cho các bạn này. Đây là những sản phẩm của mình đã cắt dán rất nhiều những sản phẩm của mình đây này. Mình sẽ giới thiệu cho các bạn cách mình tạo ra video, những video viral của mình nha. Đấy. Để tạo được những video đẹp hay chất lượng cho các bạn xem thì mình sẽ cần những dụng cụ như sau. Mình sẽ giới thiệu cho các bạn biết nha. Đây là giấy thủ công màu các bạn này, rất nhiều màu sắc này. Đấy. Nó có giấy màu vàng này, giấy màu xanh này, đây là màu xanh da trời nha các bạn này. Còn đây là giấy màu đỏ. Đấy. Còn đây giấy màu cam này các bạn này, màu cam, lấy màu vàng này, lấy màu vàng. Và để tạo ra được những sản phẩm tuyệt vời như thế này, đấy, những sản phẩm mình đang cầm trên tay là sản phẩm đẹp của mình. Đấy, rất nhiều sản phẩm này. Thì mình sẽ cần những dụng cụ tiếp theo sẽ là kéo để cắt này, kéo cắt, bút dạ là để